Greetings, and thank you for clicking on this video about how to calculate productivity. My name is Professor Brent Bolton, and my YouTube channel is Operations and Supply Chain Management University. On my channel, you can find 60 full-length lecture recordings on various supply chain and operations topics, generally taught in a university setting, and other short videos like this one that solely focus on how to solve the key formulas that are taught in my courses. Before I dive into productivity, I wanted to share with you some content that can be found on our website at operationsuniversity.org. On our website, you can find practice problems, Microsoft Excel templates that are going to help you solve these formulas and complete your homework. There's step-by-step guides on how to solve each one of these calculations. All of the chapter outlines taught in my courses are free, and there's other options for Lean Six Sigma training and certifications. There is a lot of additional content on our website which will help you to succeed in your coursework. Okay, so let's dive into the content of this video, which is on productivity. I'm going to quickly define productivity, explain the productivity formula and its uses, and then I'll go through 3 different problems to help you get a good understanding for how to solve productivity. So productivity is a measure of the effective use of resources, expressed as the ratio of the outputs of the process to the inputs. The objective is to improve productivity by improving the ratio. The formula is simple. It's just productivity equals units produced, which are otherwise known as the outputs, divided by the inputs used. Productivity ratios are useful for planning workforce requirements, scheduling equipment, and financial analysis. So we're going to go over 3 different productivity formulas. The first is partial measures, and it can be also called single factor productivity, because you're looking at the total outputs versus one single input. It's a very useful formula when comparing one measure of the business like labor or machinery. The second formula is multifactor measures. I find this a great gauge for measuring productivity because theoretically, if an organization hires more laborers or buys more capital equipment, they should hopefully become more productive. And this formula will help us to compare that. The third and final formula calculates total measures. Total measures are useful when you're comparing total output for a factory on a year-over-year basis because there's so many different inputs that are critical to the productivity. This can also be used to measure the output of an entire economy. So let's go over our first question now, problem number 1. But one thing I want to highlight before we dive into this question is remember that we are measuring productivity, not total production or the largest output. So keep that in mind that you can't just look at the yards installed in week number 4 and think that the crew was the most productive. That was the highest production, but maybe not the most productive. So True Green Lawn Care installs synthetic lawns throughout Southern California. One of the managers at True Green Lawn Care has tracked the crew's output over the past several weeks and has obtained these figures. You can see that you've got various different weeks, crew sizes, and the yards installed. The yards installed are your output. The crew size is your input. So the question is, which week was the crew the most productive? So your productivity formula, again, is just productivity equals units produced divided by the inputs used. So to calculate problem number 1, you're simply going to take your outputs for each week divided by your inputs for every week, and your answer is, for week 1, productivity was 240, for week 2, it was 234, for week 3, it was 250, for week 4, it was 242, and for week 5, it was 232. So the question is, which week was the crew the most productive? And they were the most productive in week 3. So despite having the lowest amount of yards installed, those 2 laborers were the most productive in week 3. Problem number 2. Kona Coffee has numerous production facilities around the globe. Average monthly cost data and output levels are indicated in the table below. You can see that the outputs are finished goods and work in process, and your inputs are labor, material, energy, transportation, and overhead. There are 4 different cities: Cincinnati, Frankfurt, Guadalajara, and Beijing. So this question is asking for productivity, and it's asking for total productivity, because we're saying if Kona Coffee was having cash flow issues and needed to close one of the facilities based on the worst productivity calculations, which plant should be closed? Okay, again, it's asking for total productivity. Now, I do want to take a mild tangent before I answer this question and let you know that you could solve for overhead or labor or material for any city with the information that is provided. So just make sure that if you're being asked for single measure or multi-factor productivity or total measures, that you are looking at all the correct inputs. So real quick, let's solve for Cincinnati. We can solve for overhead productivity. You just take 10,000 plus 1,000 divided by 1,200 for your overhead to give you 9.17. That's the overhead productivity. Your labor productivity for Cincinnati is 11,000 divided by 3,500. So your labor productivity is 3.14. But this question was asking for total productivity. So total productivity for Cincinnati is 11,000 divided by your labor, material, energy, transportation, and overhead costs. So your total productivity for Cincinnati is 1.16. You need to do that 4 more times. You need to do that same calculation for Cincinnati, Frankfurt, Guadalajara, and Beijing. And so the question is, which plant should be closed based on the worst productivity calculations? The least productive, because they have the lowest number, would be Guadalajara. So if you're going to close a factory, Guadalajara is performing the worst, and Beijing is performing the best. All right, our third and final problem for today is various financial data for Green Valley farming in 2024 versus 2025 is noted below. The question is, which year were they the most productive? As a reminder, just because their outputs in 2025 were greater than their outputs in 2024, they shipped $700,000 worth of product versus $500,000 in 2024. That does not mean they were the most productive, because you can see their total inputs went up. So their total inputs in 2024 were $395,000 versus $581,000 in 2025. So for 2024, you're just going to take $500,000 divided by 395, which gives you the 2024 productivity of 1.27. For 2025, the productivity is 700,000 divided by 581. That gives you 1.2. So the answer is Green Valley was more productive in 2024 versus 2025. And that's why you calculate these ratios to see which productivity is better. And in this question, they were more productive in 2024 versus 2025. All right, thanks for watching this video on productivity. As a reminder, please like this video and subscribe to the Operations and Supply Chain University channel. If you decide to become a member to our channel, you'll get exclusive access to new videos and a lot of the content that we sell on our website free of charge. Thanks again for watching and have a great day.